98.3 FM.
Welcome on board the Morning Express.
Good morning.
Good morning, everyone. It is a new day and it is a new dawn in the world of legendary singer Nina Simone. Thank you for joining us again today on Mainland 98.3 FM, the sound of Lagos. It's Tuesday, the 12th day in the month of November 2024, and I dare say the month of November is just speeding along. I have no complaints because the majority of us think of the next month, December, as a time to enjoy, a time to relax, a time to be with friends, be with family, and regardless of our new reality, I think that we should do the best that we can to enjoy the month of December that would soon be upon us. I know things are tough, but the same anticipation, the same expectation that we had of December, the rice, the drinks, spending time with your friends, the picnics, the parties, amongst other things, I can only hope that the build-up to the holidays in December is enough to provide some sort of succor for us as we endure our current reality. But anyways, welcome to the Tuesday edition of Trends in the Papers. Is your daily morning newspaper review show here on Mainland 98.3 FM, where we basically dive deep into the stories that shape our country and basically touch our lives in one way or the other. The Morning Express happens from 5 a.m. to 11 a.m. and this segment of the Morning Express, as earlier introduced, is Trends in the Papers. My name is Sage Babalola, and I'm thrilled to be your guide this morning. We'll be exploring the headlines, sort of attempting to uncover the messages that are hidden behind these headlines and ultimately dissect the important issues from today's papers. Now, every single day of the week, we aim to bring you the news, insightful analysis, diverse perspective from our national and international sources, as we have Global View. That's also a segment of the Morning Express where we talk about international matters. And taking a closer look at the key stories that are making waves across the country. We'll be focusing on government decisions, community events, and a lot of human interest pieces that we have over the course of the past week been focusing on, because we see that we need to start talking about this human-centric stories because it touches us in one way or the other. Well, joining the conversation this morning and standing by on the phone, ready to share expert insight, is our in-house analyst, Fuad Said. We do have the Guardian, Vanguard, and Punch newspaper. Be reminded that we're streaming our program live on social media. So for those of you who are yet to follow us, please do so. Follow our pages so you can be a part of the conversation via our social media platforms. Facebook and YouTube also doubles as our streaming platform, so you can go on there, join the program, and interact with us on those platforms. At Mainland 98.3 FM is the handle. Good morning once again. Thank you for joining us. Fuad, it's a pleasure to have you as always.
Good to have you, Sage. How are you doing?
I'm well, thank you. How did you sleep well?
Yeah, I did. You're good.
I'm not asking because I'm concerned about your health. I'm asking because have you read the papers this morning?
You know that's my.
Are you ready? Do you have the energy? do you have the energy? That's what I'm asking.
We have to get the job done. So let's go.
It is what it is. Like I said, we have Punch, Guardian, Vanguard newspaper. Let's start things with the Punch. And Fuad, if you don't mind, I'd like us to speed up the stories on the Punch so we can take a story on the Guardian one that I think focuses a lot on the reality of the average Nigerian and our health, our welfare, and our safety. Yes. But let's start with the Punch and go over all of the stories that we have. First story here, top story, petrol pump price may drop as Dangote marketers sign deal. Now, the Punch tells us that the Independent Petroleum Marketers Association of Nigeria has secured an agreement with Dangote Petroleum Refinery to lift products directly. Now, this, according to the association, will ensure the availability of petrol to Nigerians at a cheaper rate. IPMAN's national president, Abubakar Garima, announced this at a press briefing, and he explained that Dangote Refinery had obliged IPMAN to lift PMS, diesel, and kerosene directly for onward supply to IPMAN depots and retail outlets. And this new agreement with Dangote Refinery would ensure a steady and ceaseless supply of PMS products all over Nigeria at an affordable rate. For sometime last week or 2 weeks ago, we had IPMAN and other major oil stakeholders complain about the inability to do business with Dangote, as all of their requests to work directly with Dangote has fallen on deaf ears. Well, now we have information that Ipman has been able to secure an agreement with Dangote. They would lift product directly from Dangote, and this arrangement should be able to take care of the problem of supply and also the problem of affordability. What are your thoughts?
Well, at least we are getting somewhere with this back and forth between Dangote and the independent marketers, or even major marketers. Let's say marketers as it were. At least now there seems to be some level of understanding. They can now list directly, which means we are now gradually moving away from the idea of NNPCL being the major off-taker. Any marketer that has what it takes really to buy can take their trucks down to the Dangote refiner and lift products. So I'm expecting that at least that will bring some form of relief. When it comes to availability of petroleum products across the country. So because now the independent marketers can now deal directly with Dangote. So wait to see how it goes really, because if you read the stories very, very well, Sage, we discover that there's still a lot of I's to dot and a lot of T's to cross. It's not all sorted, if you understand what I'm saying, because the Ipman guys are still talking about sitting down with Dangote to negotiate a good price. So it means there are still a number of things that they need to sort out, so that we can have some form of respite and resolution to all of the challenges they've had in the past. But be that as it may, Sage, there's still a lot of conversation around the Nigerian oil sector, the quality of the product, what is considered fair pricing. We're also getting reports that the landing cost of petrol has dropped by a reasonable margin, because again, the price of crude globally is dropping at this time. But again, it's not completely reflective on the pricing of the product as we see. So I think we have to get to a stage where we now have to sit back, analyze the whole situation, and ask ourselves what is fair pricing. Hope we are not in a situation where people are taking advantage of Nigerians to milk us and profiteer on Nigerians, because again, we need to ask ourselves this issue of landing costs and then the cost that Nigerians are buying it. What exactly is the calculation? How did they arrive at the price per litre at our different filling stations? And that's why it's important that Dangote has to also help Nigerians with some level of transparency when it comes to the pricing of these products. If you understand what I'm saying, if indeed he's now buying crude in Naira, one would expect that his pricing should be a lot better now that he's refining locally and he can sell directly to our marketers. But again, a lot that we'll still have to dig deeper into, Sage, on this particular one. But I think we're getting somewhere. But for me, the final of the whole conversation, though, that can bring some level of finality to all of this chaos, crisis, and confusion we have in the sector, is when we get to the point where we stop importing petroleum products into the country.
Well,
when will that happen?
What? Speaking of stopping importation, it's not on the front page, but it is a related story. NNPC ends 24 trillion naira subsidy fuel import, buys from Dangote refinery. The headline, NNPC ends 24 trillion naira fuel import, buys from Dangote refinery. So there's some sort of conference going on, Nigerian Association of Petroleum Explorationists, and Mele Kyari in that conference confirmed that NNPCL has stopped importing refined petroleum products and is now off-taking fuel from Dangote refinery and other local refineries. That's what Mele Kyari tells us. And there's no addendum here of don't quote me. He said it directly that they would stop, or they have stopped importation, and now they're focusing they're focusing on local refineries and Dangote refinery. What do you think about this move by the NNPCL, and also do you think they'll be able to stay true to this commitment that they have taken?
Well, again, when it comes to the NNPCL, don't blame me. I take everything they say with a pinch of salt. I try check and recheck again, because that's one institution that has consistently lied to Nigerians. So, again, when they issue statements, I try to recheck and check again, and I check those things with a lot of doubt and skepticism in my mind. So, if they are saying that, look, they stopped importing, okay, we thank God for that. and that they are now taking from Dangote and other refineries. Also a very good one. That look. So it means that whatever they are taking, they are not reselling to other marketers. It's majorly for their own retail outlets. So if they are saying they are taking from other refineries, which other refineries? I was having a conversation yesterday with Adiola Yusuf, our oil and gas expert, energy expert when it comes to reporting, what have you. And he was telling me that the pinnacle conversation has some elements of misinformation and disinformation on the allegations that, look, it was just a blending plant and all of that. That is actually almost like also another refinery. And that there's also the Walter Smith refinery, and that, look, there are actually a number of modular refineries in the country. But again, Sage, I think what was its own refineries, I was hoping that I was going to have that conversation, bring it to the table yesterday, but I don't think any of the reports have it that it mentioned anything about the four state-owned refineries, the Port Harcourt refinery particularly. So if Mele Kyari is deflecting on that issue, then it's really very unfortunate, because there was a man that made the promise, that, look, by the end of 2024, we're going to be a net exporter of petroleum products. And one of the reasons he gave for that was that, look, while we, encourage the private sector to build refineries like Dangote and others, we'll also be working very hard to also fix our own state-owned refineries. But now he's not talking about it. Nobody's talking about it. And it worries me that we've gotten to the point where we are now having this deafening silence on the situation of our state-owned refineries. When will they work? That's the ultimate question for me.
Well, that story is on page 2 of the Punch newspaper if you would like to read further. We have on page 12, federal government spent 19 billion naira on presidential planes in 15 months. That's the story. Now we have at least 19.43 billion naira was spent on the maintenance and operations of the presidential air fleet from July of 2023 to September of 2024. Checks by correspondents on GovSpend, a civil tech platform that tracks and analyzes the federal government spending, show that for 2024, the payout amounted to 13.55 billion naira, representing 66% of the allocations for the fleet in the 2024 fiscal year, and most disbursements were labeled Forex Transit Fund. Typically funds allocated for foreign exchange requirement to facilitate international transactions and engagement. So far, we have a tech platform here that focuses on tracking the spending of government, and they are reporting that the federal government spent a total sum of 19 billion naira on the presidential planes in the past 15 months. That's since July of 2023 and September of 2024. What is it expected that this amount of money would be spent on maintenance? I mean, it's the entire fleet, and he who purchases aircrafts must maintain. I mean, it's expected that they spend.
It's not a means of transportation that you still will not maintain. It's not. And there's a routine maintenance that you must always carry out.
Yes.
So, again, the question is this. Is this maintenance cost on the new aircraft or the entire fleet? If it's on the entire fleet.
It's on the entire fleet. The presidential air fleet. Yes, the entire fleet.
Okay. But there was a time that promises were made that this presidential air fleet will be reduced. How far have we gone on that? Have we sold some of them? Well, if we are able to sell some of them, it means maintenance costs will go down drastically. If you understand what I'm saying, because I remember there was a promise that, look, there's no need keeping that number of aircrafts in the presidential fleet, and that some of them will be sold to reduce maintenance costs and what have you. But again, the question is, have we done that? When will we do that? If you understand what I'm saying. But again, some of these things, because again, 19 billion naira, is that not what the papers are reporting?
Yes.
Yeah, but because people will tell you that, look, it's not nothing really if we look at what it takes for the president to move around and what have you. But the question is, the moving around, what has he brought? What have we gotten from all of the movements around? Foreign direct investment, global reckoning, international partnerships. How has it really impacted on the economy of the country, for example, on global perception of the country. But again, these are indices that are difficult to put on the table to begin to check and recheck if the 19 billion is even worth it. That is for maintenance of stage of the aircraft. We are not talking of
fueling.
The cost of the entire, moving around. The president is in Riyadh as we speak. Sage, so if maintenance is costing 19 billion alone, just imagine what the cost of the entire international travel of the president, the vice president, the ministers, and the aides would have cost us in the last 1 year.
This is a demonstration of Wirecast.
Well, that report is on page 12 of the Punch newspaper. Moving forward, we have here Ondo governorship poll. Parties perfect vote buying plans. Candidates may step down. And the Punch newspaper is on a road this morning. Anyways, we have 4 days to the governorship election in Ondo State. Political parties in the state are perfecting a variety of plans to emerge victorious. The plans include stockpiling funds in homes for vote buying. Major parties finalizing merger deals with smaller parties to boost the number of votes at the election. And parties and candidates wooing gatekeepers with huge sums of money to mobilize as many as possible of the electorate to their sides. Now, multiple sources, undisclosed, have said that at least 20,000 naira has been earmarked for each voter on election day. With politicians and parties willing to up the amount to get votes, especially in areas where they deem themselves unpopular. Now, another one of the sources says, and I'm quoting, this governorship election is going to be money for money, as the politicians have devised means to bombard the polling areas where they perceive to be unpopular with money to woo the voters. They have planned as much as 20,000 naira per vote. They plan not to take the cash to the polling unit for fear of security agencies and EFCC. But when they see the person's thumbprint, their account details will be collected and the money would be transferred to him or her. So Fuad, if you read this report further, they tell us that this operation of this governor, the alleged operation of these candidates, has even started to affect the availability of cash at the banks, because these politicians allegedly have stormed the banks, withdrawn as much cash as they can, and so the banks don't even have
sometimes 300 million a day.
So the banks don't have enough money to even give ordinary users as well. And so Fuad, people are wondering, even Yagi Africa made an assessment and put out a report that they can confirm that certain leaders of certain political parties went as far as distributing fertilizers, rice, cassava, food to community leaders to help them woo the electorate to vote for them. Mind you, these are all allegations I would like to reiterate. Well, Fuad, is this notion that is being sold to us, is this something that comes as a surprise to you?
No, it's not. Of course, it will happen now. We predicted it. It happened in Edo, it will happen in Ondo, and other places too. It will even happen in 2027. So long we are not ready to reform the entire electoral process, to create some level of credibility to the point where Nigerians will begin to trust the process. So it's going to continue to happen. The other one that will happen is that, look, we're going to see some level of voter apathy. It's going to happen. You're probably going to see people stay away from the polls and just allow the politicians to do their thing. So people are going to sell their votes. People are going to buy the votes. Probably we'll see one or two voter intimidation situation, but it's going to be cash for cash. And like the reports have been coming out, I think even from over the weekend, the banks are short of cash now because basically politicians are mopping up the cash, preparing for this election. When you see political parties mobilizing other politicians from other states, what do you think they are coming to the state to do? To come and what? To come and sing along with them? It's to show solidarity when it comes to things like that, financial strength. Money for money, outspend one another at the polls, So I'm not surprised that this is going to happen. Like you said, it's an allegation, but it's going to happen, and we know that. Look, it will happen. And with the level of poverty in the country, Sage, it is extremely difficult for you to convince anybody not to collect this money.
20,000 now, as opposed to the 1,000.
And you can see the way they want to do it now. You will not get the money before you cast your vote. You cast the vote before you get the money.
Yes.
So they confirm. So don't be surprised that the party agents at the polls are the ones that will now signal the people that are paying. Our yes. The go and pay. But they are also careful not to pay people that will now vote for another party. So it is a 𝐷𝐵 situation now. Because again, if they put the value of the vote of the people, if they valued it for 20,000 naira, I think that will take them maybe a week maximum. You cook soup, buy rice, and within 1 week you are done. And then for 4 years, you face the consequence of that choice. But again, it's difficult to tell people to think straight when poverty stares them in the face, when hunger shows them an unfortunate reality. It's extremely difficult to tell them not to collect these kinds of money. In fact, there are people that will collect less than 20,000 naira to sell their votes. It's that bad.
If, and emphasis on if, this is truly happening, then the banks themselves are complicit, because aside from the electoral law that there are specific or set amounts that candidates can spend, there's also the financial law of an individual should not be able to withdraw a certain amount of money over at the counter, basically to control cash flow. But the banks are doing
it. Is a demonstration of
over the counter. They will take it home for them. They will go and deliver it for them.
It's illegal.
I know. And we know.
So we need to look at the banks, because the banks are encouraging bad behavior.
Okay, who's going to bail the cat? Who's going to stop them from doing it? And how do we stop them from doing it?
We have agencies for that, right? The EFCC, the
ICPC. We have mentioned the agency.
The EFCC, the ICPC as well. I mean, even the police has, they have those that are responsible for investigating
all the
financial
past elections where votes were bought and sold, the EFCC was not on ground. This is EFCC. They will be in those states now to supervise the vote buy. Were they not there at the party primaries in Abuja, where it became a dollar for dollar vote buying? Why? So what are we saying? You see, when I ask the question every morning, what is our level of commitment to nation building? That's what I'm saying. It's not to have these agencies and everybody just showboating, showing unnecessary, blowing hot air, and then making statements to get people excited. How committed are they? Or do they even have the capacity to stop these things? You understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
It's not just about today EFCC will be there. EFCC will be there to do what? To arrest people. It's just look, that's what I'm saying. We need to agree as a people that we have a serious problem with the entire electoral process. And there are ways we can fix this thing, so that institutions don't have to be running up and down on election day. System just takes care of things like this, and it starts with pertinent issues of how the election process starts from the beginning, even from party politicking. But we have a situation where it's about money. The person with the deepest pocket, the person who has a link to the particular godfather somewhere, is the person that is favored to win elections. If you don't have that, don't go near it. Don't have money, don't go close to it. So it's money politics. That's what we're paying.
And it hurts even deeply, because how do you appeal to the morality of an electorate that is hungry, that is starving? How do you appeal to their morality? How do you appeal to their sense of right? Well,
and you know, Sage, it is one man, one vote. Universal sovereign. Every vote carries the same weight. So even if you have people in those states who decide that, no, even if I'm hungry, I'm going to try and do the right thing. What percentage of people would think like that? The majority of the people will sell their votes because of how the politicians have successfully weaponized poverty. So it's just what it is. I'm sure there are those indigenous who are going to be voting on that. They will say, no, I will not collect the money. I'm going to do the right thing. I'm going to vote my conscience. But I'm sure their entire vote will be dwarfed by those who will be willing to sell their votes, or people who are just going to vote based on party sentiment or whatever sentiments they are going to take to the polls on election day.
It's on page 2 of the Punch newspaper, a brief analysis of what to expect at the Ondo election that would happen 4 days from now. This is 8:04 a.m. here in the city of Lagos. I'm Sage Babalola. Fᴜဃᴜ and myself have been talking for a while, analyzing the stories on the front pages of our newspapers. We're looking at the Punch newspaper specifically. Don't forget that we're streaming the program live on Facebook and on YouTube at Mainland 98.3 FM. I see some of your messages already dropping. We appreciate you. I'll take it soon after Trends in the Papers when we get to Mainland Focus. But then you can also listen via Radio Garden. The handle is the same at Mainland 98.3 FM. This is Trends in the Papers on Mainland FM. And back to the stories. Also on the front page of Punch, Obaseki hands over to 𝐴ᴜᴜ today, pardons 10 inmates. Well, I don't think there's really much about that. The outgoing Edo State Governor Godwin Obaseki on Monday granted pardon to 10 inmates with less than a year to serve their term in correctional centers in the state. And this is as he hands over to 𝐴ᴜᴜ, the APC candidate in Edo State. For I had political roundtable a few weeks ago whilst you were analyzing, everyone was analyzing the scenario that played out in Edo State. But then are you confident that 𝐴ᴜᴜ has what it takes to reinvent the wheel in Edo State, or you expect the same outcome?
Well, we'll have to give him a chance. Let's see what he's going to bring to the table, so that we don't, begin to cast doubts on his capacity when he has not taken the mantle of leadership in the state.
Right.
He's a current senator. Now he's governor-elect and he'll be governor today. Although there's been a lot of back and forth between his team and the team of the outgoing governor. There's been a lot of back and forth as to what's happening to the state treasury. I think I also read over the weekend that Obaseki has been communicating for some time. They are not able to communicate, but we are hoping that there's going to be this seamless transition. At the end of the day, Senator Monday of 𝐴ᴜᴜ now has 4 years to show Edo people why he should be re-elected or kicked out of power in the next 4 years. But let's see what happens. We have to give him a chance.
Of course.
New governor of Edo State, yes.
Yeah, I wasn't even speaking to his capacity, of course, because he has not even had time to show us what he has. Because he is a governor governor-elect under the APC, and the notion, the mindset of the average Nigerian is that as long as you are affiliated with that party, there is nothing you have to offer. So they have the mindset that nothing you do is going to be enough. And I'm basically just trying to see how that might influence his ability to perform when he eventually is sworn in as governor of the state. The fact that the people are not willing to even give anyone who comes out of the ruling party a chance to even show themselves. They believe strongly that just like at the center, they probably would see a replication of that leadership style in the state. Do you think this is something we need to focus on, and this is something we need to talk to people to give these individuals a chance and remove the party factor?
Well, I agree with you that whatever happens at the national level, dovetails, has that general impact on how even states perform. It's not even a party thing now. Whether you like it or not, subsidy removal, floating of the currency, devaluation of the naira affect everyone. So you have governors across all party lines complaining about hardship in their different states. The approach at the state level is now what people will be looking at. What would 𝐴ᴜᴜ be bringing to the table for Edo people? How well has he been able to identify their local needs and peculiarities when it comes to governance? Yes, I agree that, look, there's hardship in the land, and it's also one of the very first things he has to begin to think or expect him as a governor to attend to. I've seen people from Edo State who have continued to complain about poor infrastructure in the state across all local government and senatorial zones, and that there's a lot that needs to be done, really, when it comes to infrastructure. They've also complained about healthcare. They've complained about education in Edo State. And they've also complained, really, about the empowerment of the people. So he has his job well cut out for him, and some of these things are actually local.
Is a demonstration.
There are things that if he's able to put his mind together, get himself to think, really, about these things, he may just be a governor that will endear the people to him, despite the reservations and the complaints about his party at the national level. He can still win the hearts of the people with his own domestic politics and policies.
All right, then. Well, that particular information is on page 25 of the Punch newspaper. Other headlines here: U.S. places $25,000 bounty on fleeing Nigeria on murder trial. So on page 4 and 6 of the Punch newspaper, we have Tinubu, Sanwo-Olu, Abiodun, former governors, Lord Bakare at 70s on page 19. And 25, we have minimum wage earners exempt from payee. This is according to the tax panel. That's about everything we have for you on the front page of the Punch. We're about to move now to the Guardian newspaper. The top story on the front page of the Guardian: healthcare on life support. Hospitals buckle under power crisis. I was able to read this report and spend 60 million naira monthly on diesel transfer costs to patients. Up to 20% fee increase as energy costs strain budget. Staff resort to phone flashlight amid surgery delays. Disrupted clinic schedules. Hospitals seek prioritization by electricity distributors due to life-saving services. Now to the story. As Nigeria's energy crisis deepens, hospitals have found themselves in increasingly precarious positions, with cost-saving measures resembling a dive from frying pan to fire. The crisis took a troubling turn yesterday as patients and families protested a prolonged power outage at the University College Hospital, UCH Ibadan, grounding all hospitals' activities. For hours, patients and visitors were stranded as the demonstration disrupted the hospital's operation, and this was a reaction to 17 days without power or water following the Ibadan Electricity Distribution Company (IBEDC) the disconnection of UCH's supply. Fuad, a hospital. I need us to understand a hospital. We're not talking about a hotel or a club or even a residential building. We're talking about a medical institution. 17 days to that there's not one person or at least two people on life support, and any disruption in power ultimately places their lives at risk. They need to switch to an alternative source of power, or these individuals will die. And now hospitals have resorted to using flashlights to perform surgeries. The more I say it, the more my brain freezes. Forward. And this is because they cannot afford the power, and they are at the point of death where their light is now being disconnected because of this band A, band B arrangement of the power of our power sector or the administration. And I'm trying so very hard to be decent in my approach of this subject matter because it's rather sensitive, and I don't want to be a hypocrite because I caution people to be careful, and I'm about to lose it. Forward. If you can make sense of it, help me.
well, Sage, I read the story very early this morning, and I was going to get depressed. Really, it was going to depress me.
It is depressing.
This is a demonstration
but I had to just take myself up, just to read it as a journalist, understand what the story is saying. Even though half of what is in that story are things we've discussed severally on this show. The UCH Ibadan, for example, that's like the centerpiece of that entire story. We're talking about a hospital that once, when it was a legacy hospital when it was built. Say, the UCH Ibadan. The people that are older than us will testify to the fact that, look, these were hospitals built basically to offer affordable and quality healthcare for ordinary Nigerians. In fact, it's on record that at some point, the UCH had people coming from abroad for medical care in that hospital, Sage. That it was so good. The hospital was so good, the running and everything was so good that, look, you also had foreigners coming into Nigeria just for the UCH. A legacy medical facility. But look at the story today, Sage. You know, because when we say these things, people think you are just being unnecessarily critical, or you don't just like the face of one political leader, or you don't like one party, or because. But we are talking about the reality of ordinary Nigerians now. See, can you see how these policies are tied together? When we were criticizing this idea of band A, band B, and the fact that Nigerians will not be able to afford these things, and there are going to be consequences and implications, can you now see? Again, we need to put it out there. These are hospitals that ordinary Nigerians patronize.
Yeah.
The rich, the people in politics know how to sort themselves. They have the money. If they have cold and catarrh, they jet out of the country to take care of themselves. Say. But we are talking of medical facilities that takes care of the needs of ordinary Nigerians. And any more, let me just put it this way. For those of you who every time we have a conversation, the only thing that comes into your brain is politics. It's your party affiliation.
Is a demonstration of
it's your ethnic sentiment and or whatever sentiment you carry in your brain. When you have a problem or your family member has this kind of problem, you understand that, look, sometimes you have to take these issues beyond anything political or party sentiment. We are talking about the lives of ordinary Nigerians here. Say it. If a whole UCH can be without power for 17 days, say it. And that is the same thing happening even in Luf.
Yes.
In fact, it was reported that at some point they even closed in that hospital in Luf. They just lock up, everybody go.
Transfer patients.
They just transfer the In fact, we even read it that in some reports, they said about 5 wards have been shut down.
Yes.
Because medical facilities are not available, medical personnel are not even available. A lot of them are even japa. So while you are dealing with the shortage of medical personnel, we can't even provide power for our medical facilities because again, these are the facilities that the poor people use. Do they use it? They don't go there. So they're not bothered.
This is a demonstration of
so we are talking about people on life support. What about people scheduled for surgery? Sage.
They changed the
I was listening to it. I was listening to a medical doctor as a patient. It's when you see the place well lit and there's power. Even before they attend to you, the fact that you go into that facility, there's light, everything is looking very neat, and what have you. There's a way it reassures you that all will be well with you. But imagine you are sick and you go into a hospital and everywhere is dark.
And there's heat.
What does it tell you? What about the laboratories, where tests are done? What about injections and what have you that have to be under some form of, what does it mean to you?
You can't do anything without electricity at hospital. Even to run tests, you still need power.
And nobody sees it as a form of emergency. Where is the Minister of Health? The Minister of Power himself has been speaking too much grammar about band A. Look, this idea of even banding people into strata when it comes to electricity supply does not even make any sense. It does not make any sense. Provide power. Let everybody have access to power. Let it be reasonably affordable. What about ensuring that public institutions like hospitals and what have you, that poor Nigerians use, are giving some form of subsidized power? Well, so you ask yourself, as a Nigerian now, what is that thing that you get from government? Tell me one thing now that you are benefiting from government as a Nigerian.
Just to put the information out there, there was a presidential directive that there would be 50% subsidy on power for institutions.
Have they done it? Have they implemented it?
That's the conversation now. We've not felt the impact of this directive because there was supposed to be a 50% subsidy.
We have had several presidential directives that have not been implemented. It's one of them. I remember when that directive was given, that 50% off for institutions like this.
Yes.
It was just said they didn't do anything. I told you that there are several directives of the president that is just mere statements to get people excited, make the headlines. That's where it ends. Public hospitals are now no life for 17 days. And we are just quiet about it. It is normal. So what it means is that people are going on to go and die. Or they go to the hospital just to go and die. As simple as that. So when we talk about policies of government having this kind of impact, this is exactly what you are saying. It is a loot. If UCH Ibadan is in this problem, loot is in this problem. Benin teaching hospital, the same problem. I can imagine the teaching hospitals in the north. In fact, those states that have no power for how many days, just imagine what is happening in their hospitals. Does anybody care? Are we seeing commitment from the part of our leaders? Do they even see it as a problem? Are they concentrating on it? Does it bring their mind to attend to it? When I ask again about the commitment of our leaders to nation building and giving the people the leaders of democracy, this is exactly what I am saying.
Well, please do the best you can to take care of yourself, and I mean health-wise, because a person who's sick right now, the hope that you had of cheap treatment, or let's say affordable treatment,
ordinary poor Nigerians is the people we are talking to. They know how to take care of themselves, as well as come allow.
This is a demonstration.
Well, unfortunately, the line between private care and public care has been blurred. If you are paying as much as you would pay in a private institution, in a public institution, then there is a problem with our healthcare sector. And it's so unfortunate that the problem is a ripple effect of the inadequacy of the power sector, which is also a ripple effect of the policies of government. All these things are intertwined. It's shock. Once there is something wrong with one sector, it spirals and spreads into other sectors. You might wonder.
The power sector is too important,
yes,
to the lives of ordinary Nigerians to be handled the way it is being handled. Sage. You know, we are not talking about businesses now. We have not even talked about the impact on businesses. I think there's a story in the Vanguard, or even the Guardian.
Yes, I did see that as well. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. I just moved to that story. The report is telling us that we now have unsold goods. Unsold goods rose to 1.24 trillion in the first half of 2024, and this is according to the Manufacturing Association of Nigeria. So, Fuad, the declining purchasing power of consumers has led to a 357.57% rise in the inventory of unsold finished product of manbo, but people are not buying the goods. And unfortunately for those who are selling perishables, they are suffering huge losses because they need to move these goods as fast as possible. Even fast moving goods are no longer fast moving goods. They are on the shelf for months because people cannot afford it. At a time where we are encouraging local production, forward, the people that are able to even produce have no patronage. No patronage. How do we make sense of this?
No sense. It's again the sense in the nonsense is that people are going to be continue to lose their jobs. More companies will continue to fold up. That's just it, because the cost of production has ballooned, gone through the roof. So when government comes with, we cannot continue with subsidy, blah blah blah, the aggressive revenue drive, we cannot continue to subsidize electricity. Look at the impact now. You are trying to solve a problem by creating more problems. See, you are trying the corruption around subsidy regime. The government failed in its responsibility to take care of the corruption around subsidy, because subsidy itself is not the problem. So in trying to solve the problem of corruption in the subsidy regime now, look at the problem they are now creating. The bigger problems are now being created. More problems are now being created. People are losing their jobs. Hospitals are folding up. People are dying. So when we say these things and we call for a methodical approach to the issue of subsidy, the issue of the forex thing, the issue of revenue drive, and these are the things we've been saying. These are the things we are saying. Because the implications are far-reaching, especially for ordinary Nigerians. They don't care. They have money to take care of themselves. But what about poor ordinary Nigerians? Like somebody said, and I posted it, what does austerity mean? See, the idea of austerity, the way we're even pushing it at this time, basically punishing the poor for the sins of the rich. The idea of taking subsidy away completely is an idea of basically punishing the poor for the sins of the rich that the government has not been able to take care of. So look at the manufacturing sector. This is the worst time for manufacturers. And that's what the Manufacturers Union of Nigeria is saying. Because they produce these things, nobody is buying. Perishable goods, they get perished. Fast-moving goods are not even moving anywhere. So all this story, what problem has it solved now? We've created more problem by trying to solve a problem.
Well, the stories are on page 6 and page 15 of the Guardian newspaper. Unfortunately, I do not have good news regarding the education sector as well. As we have here, TED Fund cuts a raise, fears of tuition hike despite student loan relief. The riders' move could threaten university survival, stifle quality, ASUU NANS warn. Funds report progress after education tax hike. Rep members Agbese bring back Tinubu's tax reform. Obi urges students to seek greener pastures abroad if needed. needed. Now, the story: as Nigerian students celebrate the introduction of the federal government student loan program, their joy may be short-lived as public tertiary institutions may once again increase tuition fee. And this development follows plans by the Nigerian government to reduce the allocation to the Tertiary Education Trust Fund. The president of the Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASU, Professor Emmanuel Oshodeke, revealed this in Abuja yesterday. He warned that the proposed tax changes to TET Fund currently before the National Assembly could drastically affect funding for Nigerian university, and stressed the need to ensure these bills do not pass if the country truly cares about its education system. Well, it would seem like one of the provisions of the new tax reform bill is a minimization of financial support for TET Fund and to encourage self-sustainability of a lot of our public universities. Well, the implication of this is that universities would have to once again increase the price of tuition fees. And so the student loan might be available, but you will be paying a lot of money.
You said it all, see, so that people will know again that look, you know, where this capitalist ideology we are pushing, this idea that government cannot afford anything or everything is too cheap for people, and so we have to get to the point where they pay through their nose for everything. It's going to kill all Nigeria. Whether we like it or not, we need to even ask ourselves now, what is that part of our lives that government is ready to fund to help the poor? This is my question now. If power, you cannot fund. If petrol, you cannot fund again. Subsidy has to go. Everything, the government cannot take care of it. I mean, it's fine. Education too now, no, you cannot continue to subsidize it. We have to get to the point where universities can generate money, blah, 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 so students will not have to pay through their nose. Beautiful. What is that part of the life of the ordinary poor Nigerian that government is not ready to support? Say it. Infrastructure, zero. Ask people who travel around the country and let them tell you how bad, terrible our infrastructure is. So, okay, like I said, what do you not get from government? Why do we vote for people? When we vote for people to make our lives better, but look at what we're getting. So, again, election have consequences, decisions of people, when they get to the polls have consequences, and I think we're getting the consequences of what we did in 2023. It's as simple as that.
The report is on page 6 of the Guardian newspaper. Reading the remaining headlines we have here. Coalition decries new terror group. Shekarau flays intelligence failure. This is still an update on the Lakurawa terrorist group and how the lack of intelligence have allowed them to infiltrate our system, so to speak, and the need to improve our intelligence gathering techniques. It's on page 20. We have here also ICPC advocates asset tracking to combat illicit financial flow. Is on page 5 of the Guardian newspaper. Also on page 5, Tinubu seeks end to Gaza war, supports two-state solution. All right. Is on page 5 of the Guardian newspaper. Let's just please. Is on page 5 of the Guardian newspaper. And NDIC begins liquidation of defunct Heritage Bank access. That's everything we have for you on Guardian newspaper. And for Vanguard, mining marshals, security forces clash over Chinese illegal miners arrest in Kebbi. We have I'm not jealous. Tinubu's policies are killing Nigerians, Atiku insists. Also on the front page of the Vanguard, we have Tinubu Sanwo-Olu to Nigerians. Times are hard, but things will get better. It's on page 41 of the Vanguard newspaper. And we also have here Nigeria's crew in hovering 1.6, 1.5 thereabouts. We have Ondo Guba. INEC delivers materials. Stakeholders seek hitchhike poll. And that's everything we have for you today on trends in the papers. Join us for Mainland Focus at 8:40 a.m. We'll take a brief commercial. We'll be back. Fuad would also be here to share his thoughts about the focus of the day, and we will take your submissions as well, allow you to opine on the subject matters that are selected for further discourse. I'm Sage Babalola. This is Trends in the Papers, or well, this is the Morning Express on Mainland 98.3 FM. Fuad, thank you very much. We'll be with you in 10 minutes. All right then, stick around. After this commercial break, we'll be back for further discourse. Don't go anywhere.
gentlemen, here it is, the most listened to radio show on the planet. Even the other stations are tuned in too.
Welcome to the Morning Express on Mainland 98.3 FM.
You're listening to Mainland 98.3 FM. The sound of Lagos.
Hey there! Yes, you! You just won 5,000 Naira cash! And you, sitting by the side, there's 1 month Showmax subscription to watch the Premier League waiting for you! You behind! Of course! You're not left out! How does 1,000 Naira airtime and 2,000 Naira Uber discount sound? All this could come true when you buy the No Unwrap and Win pack. Open it, look for a cube with a 6-digit code on its wrapper, text the code to 8011 and follow the prompts to stand a chance to win any of these instant prizes. Promo valid from July till December. Terms and conditions apply. Get extra value on the No Unwrap and Win pack. No, eat for good.
If you love amazing Nigerian movies, action, laugh out loud comedy skits, or gripping shows and series, serve yourself all the drama, passion, betrayal, action, and laughs on YouTube with the YouTube buffet plan from MTN. Enjoy over 10 hours of YouTube streaming for just 500 Naira and over 4 hours for 200 Naira. Dial *312*800# to activate now. YouTube, made for you.
Open defecation in Nigeria perpetuates a cycle of poor health, environmental degradation, and undermines human dignity. With approximately 47 million people practicing open defecation nationwide, Nigeria ranks among the top countries globally with the highest number of individuals who lack access to proper